because he's lived in the communities that Paul talks about, plus he's got a lot of knowledge about permitting and the rules involved with environment, so. Yeah, he'd be a good person.
Maybe we can just take one in, because we're gonna have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think he
And
can.
there's a committee, I think we should focus that on the regulations and or whatever, what, something that, you know, some, in planning and zoning, you know, that kind of questioning. Go from there.
The gentleman from Lockhart, do you serve on the township board? You have the ability to consider doing what the other townships have done, if you so choose. That is to establish a moratoria on feedlot production within your boundaries and form a committee. It's up to you.
As of yesterday, there was no permit filed with the
Scott, did you look that up to be Baker land?
I'm not sure. On Norman County 5, leading west out of Spring Creek, on the south side of 5 is Roger Kurpius, Terrence Rocker, Clifton Bicker, Kelsey Erickson, and Karen Ness.
It would be Roger, for sure.
On the north side of 5 are Kristen Artley, Jonathan Peterson, Dwight Bitker, and Clifton, Doris Nicholson Trust, Mark Hanson.
I think you said the second section.
That would be on the south side would be number 26. That would be Clifton Bicker.
Yeah.
Bitker. On the south, yeah, Clifton Bicker on the south, 80 more on the north, 440 Dwight Bicker.
Is this information that you have, has this information been shared with anybody in your township, within your township at all, or been notified, or told about it, or?
I think at that number, they're slipping in under having to go through any sort of permitting process.
Yeah, it's below our 1.1.
Yeah. But it's still,
You would still have to go
4,000
for a
animals?
permit,
Yeah, it's like a permit,
but it's a short form permit, which is, can be done faster.
So that's why they would want to put up 4 instead of 7. Aside from.
So we must be planning on
That is good, that-
having a place that raises hogs that are going to be.
But I have to assume, see, the funny thing is that Jennifer Weiser talked to me and said that she thought it was and that he was in control, yeah.
I gotta run, thanks everybody.
Okay, all right, well, thanks.
They fenced in?
What?
Were they fenced in?
Who?
Those horses?
I think they were. I did follow up on them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Pete, when are you guys getting together at Strand Board to present this? Do you know?
Weren't we supposed to do a report now this month?
Yeah, I thought, that's why I thought you
Yeah.
were.
So,
They don't want to have a meeting.
oh, they're not gonna be too busy?
Yeah, a note on that. Timmy was going to mention that, but he had to run. It should be reminded that each committee, each township board requested a quarterly report from the committee.
I got it.
Waukon isn't there time-wise yet, but October would be the time for the other 3 townships. Because harvest, busy schedules, the report, technically, you wouldn't have to call a meeting and do a formal report unless you wanted to. One would think that a written report comprised of, at the very least, notes taken from these meetings, which could be made available to each township, could be submitted to the township boards, and certainly at the very least for the first quarterly report, unless the individual township board would object, that would fulfill the requirement of a quarterly report to the board.
You don't meet that often, probably, council meetings? We don't meet that often, every month? We better start and once a year. As far as time goes, we just had something in writing to present.
Right, I've got something together. I mean,
Okay.
we could just sit down and we'll take the,
Yeah, be something, so.
Yeah, we'll present it.
You made it like Mark, Joseph, and he's chairman, and.
And then we'll just have to share it all, or we can hear from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they could, if they want to pass it around, it's good.
Yep.
So, you guys, do you pass the moratorium?
Yep.
Did you register or?
Yep. At the county?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we took that in.
Yeah.
Because they did, Marvin Gunderson didn't want, we were gonna hand it to him, he said, no, I was gonna try to take it. Take him on that road.
The way that's a while back too, no, but they didn't have anybody but ours.
Is that right?
But that's quite a while.
Okay. Because we did it on the June meeting.
Yeah, see, ours was actually was in June too.
We did. Okay, that's what I.
Travis, we got this.
Yeah, we were looking.
26 was the meeting we passed. You know, then getting prepared from them. Anyhow, you registered or you go to the county so that they post it, because it keeps them from issuing a permit.
I know, it was,
The Spring Creek and then that kind of work on that, you guys passed the moratorium? Did you deliver it to the county?
Spring Creek's clerk received instructions on how to file.
Spring Creek did? Yeah, I'm with him, you know, to help him with that, and told him to do it anyway. But I know that's really important, that keeps them from issuing a permit.
So are you guys presenting to the board then this time on the 3 mile radius or not?
well,
Along with the information, or
I hope we can push for that, that's what I'm hoping for.
you can hope what?
A 3-mile radius.
What are you basing your 3-mile radius on?
Pardon?
What are you basing your 3-mile radius on the evidence, just out of curiosity?
Well, like right now, it's a half a mile rural
Yeah.
residence and a mile from the city. And we, our goal was, say 3 miles, but we'll check the entrance.
But do you have any precedent to back it up with?
No, the only one I know is like a hog operator down there in Clay County, you know, he just built it for me.
It's an adjoining county
I've
to
been
Norman
trying to-
that has.
They already have that, so
That
there is
has
a
that
precedent.
set.
I personally have been doing quite a bit of research on the, hydrogen sulfide and ammonia levels. And the health risks to people, the health risks for chronic low-level exposures to both of these things. And, I'm finding, some studies, the one that I found that I think is real interesting was done by the Pew administration back in 2006. And they have, evidence that says within a 3-mile radius It
Every
will.
township is
But
square mile.
I'm just curious as to how
we can justify.
Oh,
do you
yeah,
justify
I
that?
think it was
Because I think that no
fun.
matter why we do it, how we do it, it's gonna be, I can't think tonight, guys.
It's okay.
People, it's gonna be, somebody may or may not bring some attorneys in to say, you're, right, you'll be challenged, thank you, you'll be challenged, and I think the more information we can get, the more backing we have for that 3 miles, the better. Is there any way you can find out why Clay County set 3 miles?
No, can get a hold of Keith. You know Keith Godfrey?
I didn't know they had it.
Do you have that information to share with us?
He raises
I
the
do.
stakes of.
I have,
Before you come.
copies of it,
He went, he,
If you
no,
want to
like,
see
decided,
it,
we both.
or if you wanted to, yeah.
well, then just we'll share it with,
Pete, what was the name?
the group,
Keith Godfrey.
you know.
Keith Ockery?
Yeah, double A.
But that's probably Holly Township or Goose.
Yeah,
You said near Rolog?
he's north of Roll-Up, I'm gonna say 5-6 miles.
So that'd be Park Township?
Highway 32 and 10, he's about 2 miles south there. and
South
then
of 10? So he'd be in Park Township of Clay County?
Yeah.
Clay County's ordinances do not currently stipulate 3 miles. However, Park Township does have its own set of feedlot ordinances. It would behoove the committees to get a hold of those ordinances. There are also 6 other townships in Clay County that have their own ordinances, some of which are more restrictive than Clay County's.
Which ones are they?
I'd have to check my notes. They're listed on Clay County's website. The ordinances, however, are not. Clay County's are, but these township ordinances, they haven't posted them. So we'll have to get a hold of the township officers and get a hold of them
Personally,
directly.
that's the only way that they just don't put them out there.
Some counties don't. I mean, it all depends on the sophistication level of the individual county and how much they've been willing to invest in IT. And from my guess, it's whether or not one of the county or township members had a high school whiz kid who knew how to get their website up and running, because what's available across Minnesota online is all over the map. Some of it is all laid out, very nice for you to download. Others, it just says, yeah, there's ordinances there.
But then how would each county know the exact specification for each township if it wasn't?
Oh, I'm sure at the county level, in somebody's file cabinet, there's the paper copy of their ordinances. It's the 21st century in some parts of America, not all yet. But I mean, I'm sure, you know, in their township board members, committee members, just like you. I mean, they're perfectly willing to help out, and it's just a matter of contacting them and asking for a copy of their materials.
Like that guy was here last time from Red Lake, theirs is about that thick, wasn't it?
Red Lake County has a 38-page feedlot ordinance that Tanya wrote about 7 years ago. And again, Norman County has 6 lines.
Yeah, well, this is what I thought, we had a copy of theirs, and then if you get some from down south, you know, we'll get a comparison, so we're not out here in the cold, and we know, we've got somewhat of an idea of what we should for.
You have to decide what you want to put it in ordinance, but I think Red Lake County's ordinance is very similar to the state of Minnesota's laws. And so you won't see probably what you're looking for. It might give you some ideas. Maybe they wanted to have the same say as the state, and that's where these may develop the ordinances, so like that's another step in the process, and they get to judge when somebody applies. But their ordinance
Does the MPCA maintain a list of statewide, countywide, and township-wide ordinances?
I don't think so. We have a set of rules, a book, a big book of rules, and that's what I have to look at, of course, and that's what we go by, you know, and it was set up by legislators to start.
The 70-20,
Yeah.
the Minnesota Rule 70-20.
Right. I don't even know if it's published anymore or not. A lot of the rules I have to follow for other programs are just online because they change them fairly often. They don't want to print a new book every time they make additions.
Well, is that something Lockhart would be, you know, have you gotten any feedback from anybody in that area, or?
Not really,
We just kind of found out about it.
yeah, found out about it some days ago.
Act quick,
Yeah.
fast around here.
I tell you, there's not a lot
Hmm.
that can be done.
Where's
just-
this one that they're talking about, that you guys are, where's that gonna?
2 miles east of me, for Strand.
1 mile north of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, was it 24?
34.
34 miles south of you, right?
Yeah, mile south, a little over a mile. So,
One on Sunbelt, and a couple at Forest, which is off the 5.
The Sundahl facility would be 6 miles upstream from Lockhart.
That's, the old crate check place.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, yep. The old swing.
Half a mile north from that county.
If you guys find out, who, you know, who it is that's looking to invest into these, it would be good to just kind of get an idea and then try to see where the rest of their land is. If he's looking to put 4 of them in.
Well, see, he's got land northwest of me, the two,
But he's saying that
that's the deal.
this is gonna be somebody other than Pete Chisholm. He's
Well,
gonna put up Pete's growing.
Well, see, the chunk that I refer to is right next door to me, it's, half a section, chunk across the road, there's 400 acres.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, no matter where you would go on that chunk of land, the most, the farthest you could get away from anybody is a half a mile.
I think that what he was saying though is
The
somebody.
big advantage would be, there's a town road here, see, that would be, would that be a ten ton road then? Where it's at, it's pretty much.
No extras.
It's,
See, you're saying we would do this east of me, that's not on 34, that's right along, between Mark and Strand.
he would be on gravel unless he went out, the west end, he'd be on a tar road, but that tar road ain't. He wouldn't get on that road till he got.
You know, as long as there's some opposition in your township, I think there would be some type of thing that maybe you would have to do or should be doing.
It would fall underneath a moratorium, the, you know, these and units falls underneath any sort of moratorium that we have in place. So I
And I
guess,
think that there is some action you guys could be doing.
when I'm talking to the guy that helps build it, whoever the landowner is.
Yeah, but even take action in a board, as a board, you know, to start, I don't know, getting something out there.
It'd be, if a person knew where they're thinking about doing this, it'd be one thing, you know.
Well, like he said, you listen to the city.
Yeah, he didn't wanna say it, and he said, well, he did say that, well, there was nothing within a mile. Well, there's about 2-3 sections along 5 that, there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he kinda sounds like it's along 5, so,
Yeah, that's what he said.
you know.
He talked to Mary Jo Hanson about it, he made
He said, he said Lockhart Township, didn't he?
He's got all the land in, let's say.
Did Lockhart Township at first? part-time residents of like a mile and a half, you know, a mile and a quarter. The rest would be 2 miles.
But you don't really have to have a threat, you know,
Mm.
the threat of it, you could just put the moratorium on it.
Mm.
Say that we are gonna reevaluate our.
Yeah, the structure of the township, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we wait till after we get the permit.
Permit, then they're done here, yeah. So if you do it right away, you can do something.
You don't have to wait for any, you don't have to wait for the, you know, you can just, anything you want to come.
Have a meeting tomorrow and just say, we're gonna rethink our structure of our feedlots in our township. Then have a public meeting to,
Yeah, if you decide, what happened in the other townships is it was brought to their attention that perhaps at the county level, there were not enough ordinances to properly protect the township citizens from major developments such as factory farms that are being discussed and proposed. And so the townships decided that they would utilize their authority to establish a temporary moratorium on any construction of new feedlots within their borders while they studied the issue on behalf of their citizens. And that's what has led to these township committees meeting and these discussions taking place. It's not saying that a year from now, Lockhart couldn't decide that it seems like a good thing for the township. And given proper controls and regulations, facilities such as this should be welcomed. But what the other townships decided was they just needed time to study the issue. And they've been going at it now for 4 months. And there appears to still be a lot to learn. So if Lockhart was interested in studying the issue, the procedures are there for you to do so.
I guess, you know, it wouldn't be as bad if he was out in the middle of nowhere. But,
But you don't know how they build. When they start building, they build a site, they call it, and they start with one, and then they move over, build another, build another, build
Yeah,
another.
yeah,
It's
so
all
he
one
has-
site,
He already said 4.
you know,
And
so it's not just one
No.
site. It
Plus the
goes
2
all the way
south
around.
ones, so that we
And if
six.
you see one of them
You
counties
know,
in
the one
Minnesota,
right there.
5,000.
Yeah.
there's one county in Minnesota that looks like there's more capitals than there's houses. That's how thick it is.
He has said that he will expand if he gets into Norman County.
Yeah.
He already needs to expand,
yeah.
like that.
That's kind of happening.
I just need to think of Norman County.
Yeah,
They get filtered out of the south, they have to keep moving north.
Yeah.
So even though that he told us what he was looking at doing tonight, doesn't mean that he couldn't turn around and tomorrow say, somebody else called me now and they want to put up a 5,000 head facility in Lockhart at 400 acres.
And once they're here, there's really nothing we can do.
It's a virus.
And he's not looking for investors, so he obviously has all the money backing up. So money is not an issue on his part.
Well, my goodness, I was just looking to invest and I just wanted to know how much it would cost me to get my foot in the door. But now I'm just gonna have to clear up the horses and make my barn into a pig barn instead. And I'm gonna encourage PED virus, especially when there's an east wind. Let's do it, Lisa. Go get a bunch of, just say you wanna adopt little PED babies.
Yeah. Just been some experiments.
You wanna have a PED virus rescue fund.
Perfect.
Anytime you get a north wind,